Hi guys, welcome back to Women, Wine and Wisdom. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Naomi.
And today we're going to be talking to you about why not to rush things before you turn 30. Nay, do you want to... I mean, we've already had a sip, obviously, but...
Cheeky sip. But I'm going to introduce the wine today, guys. So today we are drinking a non-alcoholic, or shall I say a low alcoholic, because it's 0.05% alcohol.
Basically no alcohol.
Basically no alcohol. But also it's only 28 calories per 125 ml glass, which is amazing. So if you're somebody who's on a diet or you're not looking for an alcoholic beverage, this is a good alternative. And we definitely recommend it. It's from M&S and it's a good value. It's under £5.
Yeah.
So.
And it's really tasty too. Like I actually really like the flavour of it.
Yeah, same.
And the smell, to be fair.
Yeah, it smells lovely. Okay. I think it's definitely a good alternative if you're looking for no or low alcohol.
Yeah. Let's say no.
Let's say no.
But yeah. Okay, let's dive in. 30s. Yeah. Wait, I've got my Crocs on still. Let me get comfortable.
Okay. So, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Tell me, why would you say it's a good reason not to rush to get to your 30s?
Why would I say it's not a good reason to rush to get to your 30s? I feel like what is 30? Why not 35? Why not 40? Do you see what I mean? So for me, I feel like life, the goalpost always shifts. Mm-hmm. So learn to be enjoying where you are.
Yeah,
that's 100%. The thing. So I feel like since I've turned 30, first of all, I'm trying to be 19 again. Let's talk about that. But secondly, I feel like when you rush things, it's like I heard a quote the other day. When we went to the UK Black Business Show, and he was like, "Don't delay, but don't rush." So it's like, just enjoy each step of the way. 100%. Because when you turn to 30, you'll be like, oh my God, I need to do this by the time I'm 32.
100%.
Or by the time I'm 35 or by the time I'm 40.
Yeah.
If you focus on this year, I want to do this, or this month, I want to do this, working in days, we've spoken about that before, as opposed to by 30, I'm going to have this.
Yeah.
You almost sometimes set yourself up for expectations that you might not meet fully.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, what do you think?
I totally agree. I feel like it's very important to be very present in the moment, to be able to really enjoy every moment, because you're not going to get that time back.
Ever.
So you're rushing to your future, but you're forgetting to enjoy the present day. And so I just feel like, why rush? Why rush?
Yeah.
You're going to get there at some point. So just calm, take a chill pill.
And I feel like a lot of people also rush with like, you know, that was like the fear of missing out, but like future for the future. It's like the fear of maybe not being married by 30 or not having a car or a property by 30. Yeah. But people still do it after 30. People
100%.
do it before 30.
100%.
So I think, again, it's that fear of not being at the same place as your peers, maybe. Everyone's running their own race. Yeah. Living their own life. Like,
100%. Do you? And I feel like it's important to just know that everyone has their time.
Yeah.
Like, my time is not going to be the same as Jimmy's time.
Facts.
And the next person and the next person. You know, things will happen for you at the right time. So you have, I mean, look at Donald Trump. He became a president at the age of what? I don't know. But
I think
an old man though. Huh?
You're talking about
Donald
Biden.
Trump. Donald Trump, Biden,
yeah.
All of them. There's, you know, people.
I don't know how old Donald Trump is.
No, neither can I.
But I just know that Biden's older. That's why I said Biden. But anyway.
But my point being is that things can still happen to you at a later stage in your life, and not everything has to happen by the time you reach 30. Somebody could decide to, I don't know, buy their first property at the age of 40 and then build a property empire. So my point being is, everything happens at the right time. Don't rush it. Just enjoy the process.
Yeah. And I think as well, the goal, like, again, with ages and goalposts, the goalpost always shifts.
100%.
So I think instead of focusing on, I need to have this by 30, focus on what can I do today, this week, this month to work towards what I want. So it's about setting your goal and then trying to meet it, or doing the steps to try and meet it, as opposed to, I need to meet this by 30.
100%.
But counter to that though, so all the self-help books will tell you to write down your goal, be very specific with it, and with a deadline. Maybe 30 is their deadline.
Jimmy, you just blew it all out of the water.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I always say don't rush things, but in my head, I'm like, I feel like we have set up a really good foundation and we really worked for things in our 20s. And I do think that's important. Like, you should still be working towards something. Yeah. It's just that 30 doesn't need to be the be all end all milestone.
That, but also just learning to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing of it. So it's not to say, okay, by your 30s, you should have achieved everything, but ultimately on the build up to getting there, you should still be able to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Don't feel like, oh, like I've got to 30 and I haven't achieved this, and then now you're just miserable and upset and feeling like because you've not allowed yourself to enjoy the process, you're now angry.
Yeah, facts. And the thing is, it's not, like you said, sometimes it's about the memories you're creating in that process.
In those
yeah, because like you said, you can never get them back. And it's so funny because me and my friend was talking the other day, and we was talking about how much fun we used to have in Dubai, dancing on ladies' night, just chilling with no worries, right? And now I'm like, did I pay my council tax? Did I remember to pay my council tax bill? So I feel like as you get older, there's actually a lot more responsibility.
Yeah.
So be able to enjoy the time where you don't have as much responsibility.
100%.
Because for us now, if you get married, your husband kind of becomes an additional responsibility, right? Because you want to nurture, you want to look after. Then we have kids, then it's again additional responsibility. So actually, while 30 is a good milestone to hit, praise God, hallelujah, amen, right? You also want to make sure that in your 20s, you're vibing, you're chilling, you're enjoying. I'm always telling people, I'm like, you're too young to be trapped.
100%.
Go and travel, go and do something.
100%. And that's the thing, it's like, you're not going to be able to, as much as you're rushing to the future, you'll never be able to get back your past.
Yeah.
So you need to just be able to enjoy it in the moment. Take it in, travel like Jimmy says, because once you start having kids, and it's not to say you can't ever do that, but it's not going to be the same as what you could have done when you were in your 20s and you had no responsibilities and you're living at home, because we all know paying bills ain't easy.
It's not.
It ain't easy.
So, I mean, if somebody wants to
pay
take
bills,
some years off my time, and start paying my bills, I'll be out with that.
You know what I mean? So, 100%. I think also maintaining your physical health. I think not waiting until you're 30 to start that journey.
Yeah.
And I think, to be fair, it happens to the best of us. Let's be honest. But, when you're in school, you're doing some sort of sports or some sort of activity or doing PE. But I think when you get to your 30s, you end up falling off with that. So not waiting until you're 30 to pick that back up. I think it's quite important to try to maintain that.
Yeah, throughout. Do you know what, though? I blame my parents. No offense.
Throw the parents under the bus?
Yeah, no, honestly, I genuinely think so. Because you know what? I feel like as a child, you're forced to do physical activity, right?
Yeah.
But we don't actually understand the importance of doing the physical activity. And I think that our parents need to kind of educate us as to why we need to do physical activity, because I think it's difficult when you don't value something to keep it up in your 30s or in your 20s. And I feel like fitness is a habit that when you start younger, for example, at university, I always played netball. So after university, I still played netball for a bit. And when I lived in Dubai, I played netball. I go to the gym. But these things are instilled because my mum used to be like, when she used to go to aerobics on a Saturday morning, she would force my ass to go to the gym, and then after the gym I needed to go swimming. And when I was younger, I would not understand, but now I feel like I'm like, it's really important to do. But finding things you like to do, because as you get older, you have less time. You want things to be more consistent. So
100%.
if you don't like something, you ain't gonna do it consistently.
No, 100%. And
I agree completely.
To piggyback off of that as well, it's also important to establish your habits in your 20s.
Yes.
Because I feel like, I say in your 20s, at the earliest opportunity. Because once you do get to 30, or when life starts lifing, things can easily get thrown out of sync. So even things like looking after your physical health. Once you start a new job and things like that, you could find it very hard to implement it into your lifestyle. So you need to be able to make sure that you develop certain habits so that you can always make time for those in your life.
Yeah, I completely agree. You have to have the right tools as well in place to, even just across the board, you have to have the right tools in place to help you succeed. So when I say that, I'm saying it from the fact that understanding you can't do everything at once. So not everything's going to be hit by 30.
100%.
So for example, knowing what's important right now. Fitness is always going to be important, but maybe this week I can only make Pilates twice because I have additional work responsibilities, for example, and giving yourself grace. So I think that's important. Another thing as well, I feel like when you say, oh my God, by the time I hit 30, you just give yourself unnecessary stress and anxiety.
Unnecessary stress. You are triggering mental health at this point.
Yeah. It's unnecessary stress and anxiety. You don't need to rush. Like I said, we've got all this time. No one knows when their end days are going to be. So you need to make sure that you're not forcing it for yourself, because again, giving yourself additional stress, giving yourself additional anxiety, additional pressure for no reason, it just throws you off, and you focus less on the now. So that's another reason why you shouldn't rush.
Why do you feel like people rush?
I feel like societal pressures, standards from friends and family, where they see their other peers at. I think that makes a really big difference. And when I look back, I see one of my someone I know quite closely. there was a group of them and they always used to be really, really good friends and they used to always go out together. And it's just really interesting how when you see people grow, it's like, but they weren't hitting things by 30. They might have been hitting things a little bit earlier. Maybe let's say 28, 29. But now they're all 33, I think. 33, 34 maybe.
Yeah.
And now some of them are still friends, but the friends that are still friends are the closest, the people that are doing the best.
Yeah.
So the ones that are not as doing as good have kind of fallen by the wayside. And I think that's because they don't want to compare themselves to their friends, because obviously they all came from the same place. So I think that's a main reason why people rush things.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I also feel social media tells you where you should be at a certain age, or they'll show you people who are younger than you who are doing maybe better than you at this moment in time, and you feel like, well, why haven't I reached that peak? Why am I not there? And so I think a lot of people measure themselves by social media standards as well now. So I have friends who turn off social media sometimes. They either silence notifications or they just don't look at social media because there's too much pressure coming from social media as to where you should be in life, what car you should be driving, how you should look, whether you should be married, which number of child you should be on. And I think that really eats at people, and they measure themselves against that.
Yeah. Can I throw some controversy out there?
Go for it. We love a bit of controversy.
Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, I feel like we blame a lot of stuff on social media these days. And while I do agree that it's true, also man up and make your own decisions. Because do you know why I say that? Because nowadays we are seeing a lot more things crumble on social media than we anticipated. So it's like, this person's driving a Range Rover, yet they financed it, or yet they're in debt, for example. This person just got married, but 3 months later, one of them is filing for separation or divorce, right? And I feel like a lot of the time we are actually seeing the negatives on social media as well as the positives.
But that's the thing. Are we seeing the negatives?
I feel like we are. I feel like we're seeing a lot of breakups now.
I think we see like breakups, but like things like, so if somebody said, oh, I got keys to my new property. We don't know if it's renting. We don't know if it's buying. We don't know if it's your mum that's giving you that property. We don't know.
Yeah.
But people will just see, I got keys. And so that's where people start to measure themselves against that person.
Yeah.
But they don't always know the full story.
100%.
Do you see what I mean? And whilst I see that there are, say, divorces, people breaking up. I mean, we've seen Jada and Will Smith, I can't even talk about them too. I literally cannot talk about them that whole situation, and seeing how that's
she kills me.
Crumbling in front of our eyes. But society still has a way of, or social media rather, I feel like still has a way of making you feel like you need to be at a certain point by a certain level.
I agree. I'm not disputing it.
Yeah, I feel like we shouldn't blame everything on social media, but I think that's just what the media is.
Yeah, do you know the reason why I say that as well? Because our parents would have had this same situation and their social media.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, and this is why. So I was speaking to my auntie when I was on holiday, and she was basically saying that our generation, we don't really have grit.
Yeah.
And we're easily like pushed over. Yeah, with like anything. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree.
No, I hear that.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. I think it's just developing tools to know how to manage them.
Facts.
So like I said, like some of my friends, they do things like silence notifications or they, disable their account for a number of months until they know that they can mentally handle what they're about to meet on social media.
Yeah.
So I think it's just developing tools and different ways of having to manage those, that kind of stress and pressure.
Yeah, because I just feel like these days people are like, social media this, social media that. Okay, cool, but do you have a strong mind? Because at the end of it, we all, like you said, and I think I spoke about it in my book as well, we see the keys, right? It's like, oh my god, that's chapter 20 of her book. Okay, what about chapters 1 to 19? Did you skip all of that reading?
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like I really want people to take from it. It's like, yes, you can blame social media. At the same time, we need to have some accountability. So like what your friends are doing with those tools and techniques, turning it off, for example, muting people. I do that regularly. You're annoying. Mute.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing.
Doing what you need to do for you.
And to be fair, just to spin on that, is you choose who you follow on social media. So you don't have to follow people who are going to stress you out or make you
unfollow them.
Yeah.
Mute.
If you don't want to compare yourself to a certain person, just stop following them.
And that's why I'm like,
just take a bit more control.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of us are like, oh yeah, social media, this. Okay, cool, but let's be honest. But yeah, why else shouldn't you rush? I feel like when you rush things, you don't learn the lessons you were meant to learn. And the thing is, you need those lessons to take on to your future. Otherwise, you'll keep repeating that lesson, whether you're 30, 40 or not. The lesson will throw itself at you in multiple different ways
100%.
Until you learn from it.
100%.
So again, making sure that you are reflecting, learning from situations and how you can better yourself. And I think it helps you grow as well because
100%.
and I feel like I've done that with friendships. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. I know me now. This is what I expect from my friends. My friends, if they're not really meeting me at that place right now, then maybe you need to be a text buddy for a while. Do you know what I mean? Until we maybe go for another phase where we build again.
No, 100%. But even just on the learning and developing, even just, you know, picking up extra courses, you know, studying more, you know, doing all that, because when you hit your 30s, and it's not to say that you stop learning once you reach 30, no, because it's important to still grow, it's important to still learn. But you have so much access when you're young. There's so much free education, this or free events for people under the age of 25.
Yeah.
Utilize it, exploit it, because when you hit 30, everything is, you're paying full price.
You're paying full price.
Full price.
Yeah, make some friends that are at uni so you can have student discount.
Exactly.
Or maybe go on, was it?
Which one?
I don't know. Is it like uni days?
Yes. Listen, the
friends
discount that you get.
Yeah,
there's no discount when you're in your 30s. Let me tell you.
Zero, so don't rush.
They don't pity you. But also taking the time to just make sure you are, you know, striving to establishing your career path. And the thing is, don't get me wrong, you can always alter it. You don't have to be so set in what you want to do. But I think just taking that the time to establish what it is that you want to do and not just rushing to work. Because I feel like a lot of people in my generation, they went to uni to study in one thing, they came out and they ended up working in something completely different.
Yeah, this is a very good point.
So it's important to just take your time to, okay, let me just explore, let me try, let me, you know, make these errors, make these mistakes
and figure out what you
figure out what you want to do. And another one on that, just to piggyback off that, make mistakes. Be free. Make mistakes. In your 20s, make mistakes.
Basically, it affects you less when you make mistakes in your 20s than when you make mistakes in your 30s, basically. And I think that's the point. You're trying to.
Because it's not that, I feel like you learn a lot from your mistakes.
You do.
I feel that that's when you grow the most. And I remember Stephen Butler saying it in
UK Black Business Show.
Yes. Yeah. He spoke a lot about that's where he learned the most, through making those mistakes. When you make a mistake, it helps you, it shapes you. You then can reapply it to the next thing you're going to do. Next chapter. So don't be scared to make mistakes in your 20s, because I think once you get to your 30s, not to say that you're not able to make mistakes, because you will, just as part of life. But don't be so scared to do it in your 20s.
Yeah, basically fell forward, we always say.
Fell forward.
Yeah, fell forward. And it's really interesting because I think also, even when you're looking for a job in interviews, I think, again, it's how you've learned from certain mistakes. Hence the reason why they ask you situational questions.
Yeah.
They want to see what you learned from it and how you can take it forward, or how you'll act again going forward. So, again, it's really important. I'm trying to think, why else shouldn't you rush to try and do things before you're 30? And I think the point you touched on is really good, because a lot of people don't know what it is they want to do before they turn 30-ish.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people hitting that 28 mark to 32 trying to change careers now. It's like, did you know you wanted to do that when you was younger?
Well, this is the thing. I think once you leave education and you go into the real world, you start to, there's that reality check.
It's
a real reality check.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I started the Venus Code, because I wanted to help people navigate and understand different career paths, and also bridging the gap from education into employment, because I feel like there's that aspect is missing.
It definitely
you just kind of go straight from education into the world of work. A lot of people don't really know what they want to do. And I think in your 20s, you can explore, you can, you know, you may think, oh, I want to be a lawyer, but then you don't realize how much reading is involved, or how many, you know, different accreditation levels, and there's just so much to learn and unpack. So I think it's really important that, you know, I would use my 20s, if I could go back, to really explore different career paths and career opportunities before getting to my 30s. But it's not final. You can always continue to develop your career, but
and just learn to love your life for where it is at that point. I'm trying to think, if I could go back, what would I change about my 20s? And it's really it's really interesting, because I always say every year I'm like, oh my God, that was such a good year. And I look back, I'm like, that was such a good year. Like even this year, I'm like, oh my God, it's such a good year. You know, it hasn't even ended, and I already think that, right? So I'm like, you actually have to just love where you are, where you're at. Yeah, because otherwise, you're just constantly, like you said, there's no bridge. And I said this again in my book. It's like you go from uni where you think you're an adult because you're spending your own money to actually being an adult and having, but they miss the teaching you of like character.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Because uni, you learn how to read books. And I always say, I said this to one of my colleagues the other day, I'm like, schools teach sheep, right? And I'm like, it depends on how you want your child to be raised. Do you want them to be raised a leader? I'm like, don't get me wrong, schools are obviously a good thing, but we actually teach people how to pass exams. We don't teach them finances. We don't teach them tax. We don't teach them characteristics to make you successful.
No, we teach them how to sit in front of a boss and just be an obedient person.
And be obedient. And when I say give me your homework, you give me your homework. If you when I used to be like, Miss, I haven't done my homework, I'm like, oh my God, even better for me. Less marking for me to do so I can enjoy my weekend. And you know what? It used to make them bring their homework because I'm not chasing you. You actually you find me when you need to write your exam and you don't remember. That's it then.
Yeah.
So just learning to love where you're at.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Whether you're 21, 25, 30, 35.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think it is important to just enjoy the present moment because, like I said, you will not get it back. So just enjoy it. Just don't rush. Do not rush.
And if you do rush, again, so you can rush to make mistakes, as we said, in terms of fail forward, but sometimes you can actually make critical mistakes. So, for example, I remember a couple of years ago, I wanted to buy a 2-bed in Dartford, right? And I was like, oh my God, I really want to hit this milestone before this age. So we started all the paperwork, started paying some of the funds for it. And then actually, when my lawyer spoke to me, and she was like, this paperwork from the seller side is not correct. Like there's so many pieces missing. Now I could have rushed into that process, right? Maybe not had like a decent lawyer. I'd used her a few times, not had a good lawyer or not listened to advice from my parents. And I would have rushed and made a mistake because that house would have been so difficult to sell now, right?
Yeah.
But just because I wanted to hit a milestone before I turned 30, that would have been a stupid mistake.
Yeah.
Because all the signs were there already. So it's like, while we say rush to make mistakes in terms of fail forward, also don't rush things that literally don't make sense. Yeah. Tired.
And my back is hurting me. My back is hurting me.
Honestly.
My back is not the same. My knees are not the same.
My knees be the same. But my back Listen, sometimes it's just drop it low right now.
Don't even come and start playing ratchet music, but she'll really give us. She'll show us how her knees are working.
Same. Listen, I challenge any 24-year-old. Let's go back them knees.
No. See what I have to do with Kemi. Nah. Are we recording? We'll use that as BTS.
Okay. No, that's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, so what are some of the pros and cons of getting to 30?
Honestly, I've genuinely felt better every year. So like next year when I turn flirty fine, I'm gonna be probably even better because I've just got more and more gas as I've got older. It's strange.
Come on.
But genuinely, the cons of being 30. I said the cons. Yeah, I'll start with that then. The cons of being 30, like you said, or like we previously discussed, is we have to deal with everything by ourselves. And I think that's the main thing. But again, if you lean on friends, if you've got a good relationship with your parents, lean on your parents, that can ease some of the stress.
Yeah.
And then the pros of turning 30 is you're better at decision making. You're more yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know about anybody else, but I felt more myself.
100%.
I don't doubt myself as much, right? And I also stand on my morals and principles.
100%.
I feel like when I was younger, I could go back and forth on like, I'm like, that person did something that's not morally correct, but Jimmy, sometimes you can lack patience. Maybe you should just give them grace. Yeah. Whereas now I'm like, no, bye. Or actually, no, Jimmy, you was in the wrong. You need to apologize. You know what I mean? I feel like I've figured it out more as I've gotten older. But I don't know. I felt more tired, I would say.
Yeah.
I feel like because we kind of take on more of like what's important, e.g. like it might be family stuff that we might have to attend more because people are having kids. So I feel like that kind of pressure as well. Financial commitments in terms of, for example, gifts, birthday presents, Christmas presents, especially around this time where it's getting towards Christmas. Those kind of things. So more financial pressure, I think, is a con of being 30 as well. What are your pros and cons?
I'll start with cons. I think as you get to 30, definitely your health takes a toll. Oh dear. But like you mentioned, you become a bit more tired. You maybe don't have as much energy. When I was in my 20s, I can be up until all hours of the night.
And out as well.
Yeah, and out. But now I'm like, 10 o'clock. Yep, that's me. Put on my PJs. I'm ready. I'm ready to go, having my cup of tea. Do
you know what else as well? I feel like my body accepted the cold more. Now,
it shocks me in all my joints. my joints. And I remember my mum used to be like, oh, go and bring like heat rub or something for her joints. And now I'm there. I'm like, please bring me heat rub. Let me just.
No, man. You know, it's madness.
But there's definitely like a lot of body changes, like even just like weight loss. You don't lose weight the same way that you did when you were younger.
Definitely not, no.
You don't. So
it takes a lot longer.
It does take a lot longer. So don't rush to get to 30.
But then I wonder, is it that it takes a lot longer or we have less patience?
I think it takes a lot longer. I think our metabolism, our body, because they say your body changes every 5 years, doesn't it?
Yeah, and for women especially, you start to deteriorate, I think, muscularly, like in terms of your skeletal structure and your muscles at 30 anyway. So that's definitely true. But I always, because you know, the reason why I ask that is it that it takes a lot longer or we're less patient? Because when I think about it, people can actually lose weight within 2 months if they were consistent. Yeah. But then I feel like we get to a point where we're like, we want to be more, we want this more.
Well,
so I'm like,
I guess we
less
do
patient.
Oh yeah, and we go out to eat more, isn't it? Every time you're meeting up with your friends, it's like, should we go and eat? Should we go to brunch?
Should we go? Yeah.
As you can see. Yeah. So no, it's true. Maybe we're doing a lot more activities that require us to eat a lot more than what we did when we were younger versus being a bit more active.
Yeah.
So that probably plays a part in it. But also another con, probably a bit controversial, but I think the pressures of fertility at your 30s. I think that is a con because, you know, when you get to your 30s, like you mentioned, you know, you feel more yourself. You feel more like, you know, a woman. There's a sense of becoming, which is a beautiful thing. You know, you own yourself a bit more. So you know a bit more about what you like, what you dislike. It's just such a beauty to it without having to seek the validation of other people.
Facts.
But I guess on the flip side, it will be things like fertility, where when you hit 30, unfortunately for women, I believe it's our reproductive system is at 42% or something like that at the age of 30. Christ. Yeah, so it's quite a massive drop.
I got a question for you.
Go on.
So me and Bae the other day were debating this, right? Yeah. And I actually have a question for you.
Go on.
Would you rather be not married right now? So let's say you're with your bae.
Yeah.
So right now, would you rather have a baby with him now and not struggle to get pregnant, or be married and then struggle to get pregnant?
Pregnant.
Thank you.
Point A. Yes.
Yeah, same.
100%.
So obviously it's like, oh yeah, you know, you want to be engaged and married, blah, blah, blah. And then in my head, I was like, do you actually know what? When I sit down and really think about it, I would actually rather be in love right now and pregnant than married to my bae and then struggling to get pregnant. I feel 100%. Like it's such a big pressure when you're then married already.
Yeah. Especially because when you it's a good point because I've had this conversation with Bae as well. I feel like because we can't always guarantee what's going to happen. So when 100%. You're ready to start having kids, it may not happen for that person.
Yeah.
So we've got to be careful to not just assume that things will always happen on our time.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, like what I was saying to Bae is my non-negotiable is that I want us to, of course we're in love, but have at least be committed to each other. So a ring, just to know that we're committed and we're working towards something.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? But if we got married 2 years down the line, then I could part with that just because it means, okay, cool, we're going to prioritize starting a family.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, time's of the essence. We can't delay that. Yeah. We can't avoid the inevitable. And we've had Emily on our previous episode who spoke about going through early menopause at the age of 31.
Yeah, madness.
And
like, bless her.
Yeah, she was going through menopause at the same time her mum was going through menopause. So you can't even rely on the fact that, oh, okay, because my mum went through menopause in her 50s, then that means that I'll probably go through my menopause at around the same time, because it may not happen like that.
No, things are different now. They're set up differently for us than for our parents.
Yeah, and you know, what a lot of women don't realise is you're born with a set number of eggs you're going to have for the rest of your life. So men can reproduce. So don't take that for granted. That's what I would... Yeah, that's what I would say is somewhat of a con in your 30s as a woman.
And I think that's a really, 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 really big one because men don't have that same con.
They don't have that same con, yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a big one. I'm trying to think, what else do I think about in my 30s that I don't really... or that I didn't really pay attention to in my 20s. No, I can't think of anything else.
No.
But then again, I always say, like, I feel like sometimes we talk from a place of privilege.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But
I think we've touched on it a little bit, but just in, like, when you get to your 30s, there is such a beauty in just being able to do things for yourself. A lot of my friends now do a lot of solo trips or do a lot of, you know, taking themselves out for dinner. or taking themselves
I
to
didn't believe you
the
spoke about
cinema. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go to cinema by myself all the time.
I never did.
What,
And
cinema
I
by
still
yourself?
don't plan to.
Yeah,
No,
no. If I want to watch
can't.
something and
No.
I don't want someone to talk to me, I would fully pull up to the
Do you
cinema
know
by
what?
myself.
But I enjoy doing things with people. Like, those are my social times to do things with people. My
Yeah.
quiet time would be me being at home, chilling,
Relaxing.
relaxing, watching a Netflix series, and just that'll be my
Chilling.
time.
Yeah.
But I think definitely in my 30s, I've learned to build boundaries.
Yeah. And another thing as well that's really interesting about my 30s, I feel like, is I enjoy, to be fair, I always enjoyed alone time, but now I enjoy it even more. So I enjoyed alone time even when I was in my 20s because I lived by myself. But now I'm just like, listen, if I don't have to be somewhere, perfect.
100%. 100%. That was me. I think in my 20s, I have quite a big friendship network, as you know.
Yeah.
So it was always someone's wedding, someone's baby shower, a friend's birthday, just always something happening. Whereas now I enjoy just taking me time and just doing my own thing, not rushing, not feeling like I have to do that. That thing that's
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. And I'm going to throw it to like a little bit of femininity there as well, just because I feel like the slowdown, I wish for me that I started slowing down earlier.
Yeah.
I feel like I got to 28 and was like, I now need to slow down.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Whereas I feel like actually I wish I'd slowed down from 24-ish, 25, and seen how that would have maybe changed or altered my life.
Yeah.
At that point.
No, that's a good
Because I feel like, again, going fast to go where though?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. And you could be driving so fast to an aimless destination.
That's it.
So it's important to slow down, take your time, really navigate and look at your roadmap and say, okay, where am I going? Okay, should I take this left or should I take this right? Take time to understand and read your sat nav.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes people are just running in one direction, but they don't actually know where they're going. They've even gone off course. They're even driving on the grass at this moment, but they don't realise.
Yeah, that's what it's so important. It's so important to just essentially at any stage that you're at, be present in that kind of moment as well. One thing as well that you mentioned I think was really interesting is when you said you'd rather be unmarried, for example, and pregnant. And I think that also goes to testament as to when you turn 30, you no longer seek too much external validation from other people, because that might be something that I want to be married before I have kids, whereas look at it now.
Okay,
fully. Do you see what I mean? So I think again that's also important that even in your 20s you shouldn't really be seeking validation externally anyway. But as you get older, you care even less.
Yeah, exactly.
You care even less.
But also relationships in your 20s, I feel like a lot of people, kind of like what we're just talking about now, are so keen to get married and start a life, and people are getting married at the age of 22. And I mean, if that's what you want, that's totally fine. But at the same time, there's so many people that got married in their 20s and then got divorced by the end of their 20s.
Yeah. You know what? I have a thing with this, right? Because I think you said a stat before a while ago that actually marriages over 30 last longer.
Yeah.
So I remember that. And the thing is, again, why I think it's important to enjoy the present moment is none of us know what's going to happen in the future. So whether you get married at 22 and you get divorced at 29, I could get married at 32 and I won't be getting divorced because till death do us part, babe. But I could get divorced at 40. And either which way, we're both still divorcees. So the thing is, for me, again, is enjoy your life. Like if you're in love, enjoy this present moment, because I feel like people always like, oh yeah, you know, you can get married at 22 and get divorced, you can get married at 50 and get a divorce. And same thing is you can get married, you can get divorced and then find love again, right? And I feel like people just need to be able to just, I want to say adaptable, but I don't think that's the right term, but be fluid, be willing to kind of go with the flow. Sometimes not everything is going to be 10-10, but sometimes it might be perfect for that moment now. Because we put too much emphasis sometimes on like, is this relationship going to last for 10 years? Is it going to take me till I'm 70? Can you even see past 2 weeks? Can you actually even see past 2 weeks? So it's a really interesting one. Do I think... But saying that though, we all know I was about to get married in my 20s and I 100% would have divorced. We would have 100% got a divorce, right? So, and I don't even think that's testament to me being young. I think that's just testaments to two different characters not being able to fully merge and compromise to each other's needs.
Yeah, but if anything, it's a testament to the fact that you are very self-aware and you knew to leave that situation, because a lot of people would have just done it because they were in their 20s and because they were trying to work towards the deadline of being married by the time they're 30 and having kids.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting that you said as well about the fertility thing is actually when you sit down and actually really think about it, and we take into maybe consideration men's perspective on this, it actually probably is better for you to get married younger. to be honest.
Yeah, on the flip side, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously for us, we're like, yeah, we're 30, living our best life. We are living our best life. But ideally, if we could have been married and had kids before 30, we would have done it. So I think it's important to highlight that as well.
Yeah, but then I think there's that level of, I guess there's pros and cons to it, because had you got married in your 20s and started having kids earlier in your 20s, then career-wise, you may not be where you are. I'm not saying that it prohibits you from developing a career. I'm not saying that at all. Do not come for me. But ultimately, you may not be where you want to be in your career. That relationship may not have lasted, and so you may have been creating a broken home, and you don't even realize. You may have not been able to be mentally mature enough for the relationship and to become a mother. And I'm not saying that we've got all the answers now in our 30s, but hopefully we would be better equipped than what we were when we were in our 20s.
Yeah, I think we might be better equipped.
But biologically, it is better to have kids in your 20s.
But you know what? So I do agree with you. I do think we are more equipped now in our 30s. But people have children at 16 and they do absolutely fine.
No, 100%. I'm not taking away from young mothers.
People have children at 22, 25 and they're still fine. People have kids at 40 and they're still fine.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I think if we biologically, like you said, it might be better earlier. I think that's pretty much it from me in regards to why not to rush things before you're 30. I think we've said quite a lot. But again, you shouldn't really be rushing to any age. So 25, 21, 30, 35, 40. Just live your life. Enjoy the moment. Don't really care about what people are saying, because at the end of the day, don't ever say it can never be me, because sometimes it can be you.
Definitely. I would definitely say the moral of the story is just enjoy every stage of your life.
Yeah.
Just take it in your stride, enjoy every bit of the process. And just because it hasn't happened for you yet doesn't mean it won't happen for you ever. So yeah.
And learn to ride out the season. Sometimes it's winter, sometimes it's summer. Things can't always be perfect. So On that note, let us know your thoughts and speak soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers.
Of course.